instead we're going to talk about the game that's coming up here, the Boston Uprising versus the Paris Eternal. Josh, you give me this game on my calendar when I'm looking at the cast and the games I'm going to cast.
Yep.
Last year, maybe not last year actually, but okay, I mean,
but
there's a period of time. At the beginning of the year, there you go. At the beginning of the year, and I'm thinking, ooh, I don't know about this one. But I think this has the makings of a fantastic match. The Boston Uprising stonks have never been higher. The Paris Eternal are soaring above where everyone had expectations for them. This has the makings of a really, really solid match now between two teams that are kind of like fighting in the mid-table, maybe even higher for the near future.
Well, I'm glad that the desk actually did the head-to-head comparison between the two. You saw that Paris Eternal have only just got ahead at 7-6 with like a slightly worse map differential. But what's so interesting about these two teams, they both started, and in stage 1, they go 1-3. Then they go 2-2. Then they go 3-1. Both of the teams having the exact same improvement over the course of the season. And so then you're looking at kind of strength of schedule. Well, both teams in the Countdown Cup have a pretty doable strength of schedule. You know, the Boston Uprising are playing later on against the Vancouver Titans and the Florida Mayhem again. These are winnable games. So this match here could really define which one of the two goes further in the Countdown Cup and ends up taking the leg up over the other.
Let's take a look at the starters for the Boston Uprising as well. We'll see what players are going to be running in this match ahead of time. And yeah, it's going to be some pretty typical faces. You know, we've seen these guys all before. You know, Myongbong as well. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of impact from this guy. This is a meta that we're kind of entering where the flex support has honestly a huge impact over the course of the game as well in terms of their impact either on the Zenyatta or the Ana, whatever compositions are being played in general. But a lot of potential in this squad. Colorhex also in the starting lineup.
Yeah, that's an interesting one to me. Colorhex is the guy that would be brought out if they were planning to play any Pharah, which I know the desk was commenting about. It's a serious task to go head-to-head with Naga on the other side. He just set some final blow records and did it against one of the best in the world at Sparkle. I'm not sure that Colorhex is going to be up to the task after being kind of sat on the bench for the majority of this season, but he is well known as that Pharah player. So that's what I'm kind of expecting here from him. It doesn't look to me like this is their most natural Tracer Sombra lineup, but we've seen the players from Boston flex all over the joint, so it really is open.
And the Paris Eternal probably going to be running a pretty similar lineup to what they were doing the other day. And
they broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly. They were seeing a ton of success with it. Naga on the Pharah was just an unbelievable play. As you said, Josh, I mean, the guy was breaking records, but we were really highlighting almost every single player on the Paris Eternal squad the other day in terms of their actual raw impact in the game. Khan and this support line of the Paris Eternal with Tridro, these guys are amazing at understanding exactly how to really play around one another as well as their strengths. Khan on either the Ana or the Zen, respectively. I mean, the guy has just been dominating.
He certainly has. This roster has been more and more impressive. And the reason to me that I'm more excited about the Paris Eternal compared to Boston, when they're otherwise statistically the same, like their progression throughout the season is the same, their results have pretty much been the same, but I'm more excited about this Paris squad because I feel like the teams they've taken down have been bigger. They've taken larger scalps, more impressive victories, and it doesn't get any more impressive in the West than being able to defeat the Dallas Fuel yesterday. Okay, you caught them at a bit of a rough time in terms of them transitioning into a new meta, but they're still a giant of the scene. They're the best team in the West, and they have been throughout 2021. So that it fills me with a lot of excitement for where Paris could go. And this is the next path. Can you beat a team that is dead level with you in the season?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if you could take down Dallas, why not? The Boston Uprising heading into Ilios as the map as well. And yeah, I mean, we see a lot of Pharah gameplay at the moment as well. We know that the Paris Eternal love to bring it out here. I mean, it's still early days in the Countdown Cup meta, but I feel like we got almost a bit of a teaser at the tail end of the last tournament cycle as well, with the APAC teams playing a lot of this Wrecking Ball and Pharah. They really did set the pace, I suppose, for what was going to be played moving on into the future with the hero pool rotations that are about.
Yeah, I mean, you would say that, right? And you'd expect coming out of it that, of course, Shanghai Dragons are just going to go back to APAC and dominate. And they got 3-0'd last night by the Philadelphia Fusion. So there are definitely still some quirks in terms of, you know, if we're talking about Shanghai, they used to like to run Legion on Lucio on some of these maps. And I imagine that there are different quirks in terms of even teams that enjoyed playing ball, like the Paris Eternal. Certain matchups will play differently because of the hero pools that are in play.
Yeah. I do feel sorry for the Philly fans, if we're going to be touching on that one for a second as well. The absolute whiplash the fans have been getting from that team's performance. And now they're going into it with full copium, full speed ahead after 3-0 Shanghai Dragons. I mean,
at least for Paris and Boston, it's been a slow, gradual improvement over the course of the season. There's no whiplash. These teams have just been progressively getting better and better and better. And an Orisa comp here for the Boston Uprising.
Yeah, this is intriguing, actually. Seeing a bit of double hit scan as well alongside it. Very, very pokey. You got the kind of the Orisa as well as like this center anchor. And the Paris Eternal actually, they've scattered this. They're making some swaps off the results.
They opt into the Pharah against double hit scan. I mean, if you're playing plat games, people are going to mold out of control if you do this. But the Paris Eternal have clearly got a plan. I don't think the plan revolved around Darn getting triple CC'd there, though. They've got Halt to play into, Flashbang, the Brigitte Shield Bash. It's so difficult to get value out of ball, and you're playing the Pharah here. I mean, the Pharah can dodge around the columns, but it's still a lot of pressure.
Well, you got to think about how long range Ruins is, the current map that we're playing on as well. It's actually, it can be pretty difficult to deal any sort of consistent damage. You're really relying on Onigon to set up some of these shots, as you can see on the Widowmaker now, taking a bit more of an aggressive angle around the corner, but it's all just a bit of a distraction. Naga jumps in, has already built up the barrage, of course, just spamming in those rockets, makes full usage of it. That's going to be a nice little team fight win there for the Paris Eternal.
Naga dropped down and barraged into an amp matrix that came out from Yunbong. And Naga is playing these angles perfectly, using the columns to be able to get away from I'm37 and Color Hex as he approaches. And like you said, Brent, when he plays from long range, there are hit scan nerfs now that make you much less effective from long range.
That's a bit of a misplay. Onigon, I definitely meant to grapple that, but they're going to try and turn this one around anyway. The Nanoboost committed onto Naga. Khan sends in the nade as well, just to follow up on all that damage that's being done. A couple of fadeaway rockets almost bringing down Stand 1, but he just about escaped, but I may have spoke too soon. The damage is definitely being done there. I think there's a damage boosted Khan to really follow up on that one as well. And right now, just holding them at their spawn door almost, just making sure that they can't really get out for free or get any sort of chip damage.
I'm37 was considering moving to Widow to try and deal with this Pharah threat. Not sure that would have worked either because the Paris Eternal are so far forwards. The Widow doesn't get good sight lines. He decides to go over to Sombra. That Bionade is filthy, again from Khan. A 3-man bio that forces out an Immortality Field and helps with the kill on I'm37. That's freakish.
I mean, he's just putting up ridiculous numbers as well. He really does make the Bionade. There's certain Ana players, they make the Bionade look like an ultimate ability. I mean, you could make a fair argument if that was the only knowledge you had of the hero, just watching it. It is that powerful sometimes in these guys' hands, but yeah, still the Boston Uprising struggling to get out of their spawn, eventually now just breaking out of this forward hold. But the Paris Eternal holding on to them, but yeah.
Myunbong has gone over here to Zen, so he's going to apply the Discord Orb over to Naga. It's going to allow the poke damage from Color Hex to do a little more work. I mean, possibly Discord Orb on Dan would be good in some circumstances too.
Oh yeah, he's got the barrage. Why not? Just slam it into the corridor. And quick little two-piece for him. I mean, it's easy peasy as well. Just being perfectly supported by the team. That's going to be difficult to avoid, but just about survives as well. The AoE damage not enough to bring him down. I think survived on about 23 health. Naga still putting in the damage and Ana Boost on top as well. It's his world, we're just living in it apparently. Still the Boston Uprising coming in with a couple of ultimates though. The Tactical Visor should be doing enough. Somehow Naga gets the kill onto Faith, but luckily Myunbong still alive to put in that damage, and Color Hex is really dealing with him from range here. Overtime was going to be triggered by the Paris Eternal, but it is a teamfight win for the Boston Uprising, and crucially they built up that EMP as well.
And this is a mess of a team composition by Boston, honestly. I can... the Soldier 76 doesn't really want to be holding too far forwards. If you're running a Tracer in this kind of position, I think Boston would want to hold forwards and try and stop the Pharah from being able to come out the spawn. Paris have made the swaps anyway, though, at this point. They're going for a Sombra Tracer comp themselves. And it's right here where this long time ago swap from I'm37 onto the Sombra helps them out. He has an EMP available. He can start some kind of ult cycle working, but it's got to find value.
Self-destruct comes into the back, but that is well coordinated. EMP into the Helix rocket. Khan on 50 health just gets absolutely blown up. Straight away removing one of the hard carries that's capable of really turning any situation on the Paris Eternal. That's a good team fight win. That's what you want if you're the Boston Uprising. Now, win out those team fights, try and build up those ultimates as well. If you can kill Dan here, which they do, fantastic work from them, still building up those ultimates for the next round.
this gets dangerous now for Paris. Dan is going to respawn at about 90%. They can barely get onto the point. Myeonbong's going to have ultimate. Faith is way faster too. The Paris Eternal may have made too many compositional swaps too late here.
Yeah, not going to have too much to work with. Power Driver comes through. That's the overtime. Re-triggered. Stand one so low. That's an EMP. Actually, a neutral hack from Naga. Locking him up. Stand one couldn't go anywhere here. Onigod now just trying to turn it around. Just about jumped onto the point to keep the overtime going, but they need to just keep dipping their toes onto it. Keep this one going. Naga need to try and win this one out. The hack coming through. Naga could not go anywhere. The tactical visor is massive. And with the ultimates, the Boston Uprising, they have a huge advantage in this fight. Rally armor at the back as well. Colorhex, no one's really going to be able to remove him from this fight. He's just able to keep putting in that consistent damage and work. Self-destruct onto the point as well, going to be clearing them all away, and that's the Boston Uprising taking round number 1.
That's kind of amazing, honestly, Brett. Considering how dominant Paris looked with Naga on Farah, I'm surprised they didn't stay on it, honestly, for that final team fight. They came out and made big compositional swaps across the board. Driedro moves over to Brig, and Onigod, Naga both changed their picks as well. And Khan too went from playing the Ana to going over to the Zen. So they reset 4 of their ultimates when Boston Uprising had an EMP on the board. I think that's one they would definitely want to replay there. The Paris Eternal with Farah looks like a bit of a different team. Probably want to stick to it.
I mean, Overwatch is a game of ultimates, really, when it comes down to it. The neutral game plays a part in it, I suppose. And when I say the neutral game, the fights without the ultimates, but it takes a very special team to be able to win outright, especially when Boston, you basically just handed them that ultimate advantage when it flipped around. This time, though, the Paris Eternal going to put Naga back on the Farah, so keep pumping in the rockets from afar. You can see how little damage Naga's really taking, despite the fact that Boston are running this double hit scan. Concussion blast off to the side. Big Bionade forces up that immortality field, and as soon as it goes down, I mean, the damage is done. And just the stray rockets just going right into the corner. What did the Boston Uprising expect?
Yeah, that's so well played by Paris. You can see how well they understand when to take fights against Boston. They're just poking them when Boston are on the high ground, and as Boston start to path towards the point, Naga throws in his rockets, then Khan is throwing in the Bionade once they get to the point, and their idea is to surround them and crush them with damage coming from all angles. And that Bionade just allows Naga to get so much closer where he can get consistent damage off. It's a real challenge for the Boston Uprising, because Naga isn't just going to allow himself to take a bunch of damage before a team fight. You can't really poke him away. He's going to play around the houses, and then he's going to push towards you as you get into vulnerable positions, as you move towards the point.
There's the barrage as well, and he's looking for the target. The Nano Boost comes through, and Matrix as a response for him. He's trying to get in there so he can potentially offload this as well and cause a bit of havoc, but it's the Boston Uprising with the better response. They're still trying to take this fight, and it seems that Naga is pumping in enough damage that there could be some sort of follow-up from Onigod as well, despite the Boston Uprising having this sort of early lead. A very split apart team fight right now. Naga's still alive, has the barrage again, going to be using it there. A lot of the damage though ate up. The defense matrix of Punk was well aware of what was incoming as well, was saving that cooldown for that ultimate. Colorhex using the tactical visor as well, really to just push away all the extra elements of the Paris Eternal. Now it's just to try and basically turn this point over to their side. Going to be able to do it off the back of winning that very drawn-out team fight.
Punk wins that team fight for Boston. Yeah. He was all over Naga. He was pressuring him. He was body blocking him to stop him getting any value with the nano. He defense matrix when he barraged. That was a masterclass of Diva against Farah by Punk. He's got to keep doing that. Naga is the star player for Paris. If you can shut him down, Paris don't have too much else to play around.
This damage is quite brutal. Naga's trying to play into as well, especially when Myeonbong is just peppering him. Top of it, you got all of these hits. And that's going to be the high noon. Yep, straight away that's a kill. Naga just does not have the mobility while in the air to avoid that kind of stuff going his way. Still, the fight continues. Almost flipping it over, actually. Boston Uprising struggling to hold on to this one here in the backline. That's a post bomb that I'm 37 with the Amp Matrix committed. It's a bit of an awkward one. It's a strange angle. Still, they're trying to take this team fight, and it seems like they are slowly winning this out. But as I say that, Khan, no one's really dealing with him from the high ground position. He's just putting in a lot of damage just from that high ground position, and no one's managed to dethrone him.
No, it's ridiculous. Everyone's too focused on Naga. I said they don't have too many other threats, but you do also have to be wary of Khan. They have taken him down eventually. Color Hex with these Helix rockets has just been fantastic. It is, but in all of this time, the Boston Uprising have been able to tick it up, and they're about ready to equalize the point.
It's a very weird team fight. This is almost the misleading team fight where both sides think they can still win it, and it just results in one team just getting 75% and counting, like the Boston Uprising right now. Still, Naga hitting these rockets is absurd. He has the barrage, so you can see him trying to play indoors, looking for an opportunity to really use it, and there you go. Straight away, but a wonderful response comes out. That's the Immortality Field, and Punk shutting that down. With the Supercharger down into the corner now, 90%. This could be the Boston Uprising taking this one. Punk as well realizes he doesn't need to worry about Naga. He's going to be chasing down Khan, eating up that sleep dart, finding his mark. 99%, just a bit of overtime now, stalled as Onigor's just trying to keep this one going for the rest of his team. Coming in, Power Driver comes down as well, into the mines. Might be an opportunity to turn this, but the Pulse Bomb only going to be eating up that Immortality Field. They still need to get some legs onto the point, but it seems like the Boston Uprising are the ones who are in control. I mean, 99% just seconds away, essentially, from taking away map number 1.
Stola has a nano boost, but that's all they have, really. And Punk, after he did so much work towards the beginning of this team fight, is going to help them try and clear it up. But Stola goes down. He has bought a lot of time, but that's not going to be enough. Yeah. Again, Punk with an insane round. Every team fight that the Boston Uprising won was off the back of Punk. He's excellent so far at being able to shut down Naga and also apply pressure to the backline. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. And it leads the Boston Uprising to an early lead in this series. Like we said, these teams are neck and neck on the league standings. You really can't find too much to differentiate between them. But it's Boston out with an early lead on Ilios, perhaps against a lot of people's expectations.
Yeah, and you can really tell that the Boston Uprising have put a lot of preparation into this match. Obviously, the benefit as well of watching what the Paris Eternal were going to try and play as well, and being able to adapt to that from their game the other day. But we're going to go to a short break, and we're going to see just where this series is about to end up as well on the other side of things. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Taking a look at our Brigitte power rankings of IBM Watson as well. This is the kind of rankings we actually don't really take a look at too often as well, but we do have two of the Brigitte players in this match right here on the leaderboard, 6 and 7, Drijo and Faye. Drijo the other day was making some enormous plays on the Brigitte, which sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not, I assure you. It's like, genuinely, the whip shots, the shield bashes, absolutely everything coming together to really negate and stop a lot of what was going their way, especially when they were playing against the Winston comps. You do see a ton of impact on the Brigitte plays in this particular meta.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Brig, ever since it was released, Brig has been one of the most impactful roles in the game. It just gets a really bad rep. People don't want to talk about it, but there is to me a very clear top 5 when it comes to the Brigs. I agree with IBM Watson, and then you've got Drijo ranked by Watson at 6th, and then Faith is actually the unusual one, just creeping in right below there. Both backlines for these teams are pretty good, though. They've got a lot of talent. The next map we're heading into is King's Row, and I'm really interested to see what teams cook up here. There's so many opportunities for a variety of comps, I think.
Yeah, let's take a look at our map leaderboard presented by Xfinity as well. We actually have a rare one here. Both of these teams that are playing today actually setting the record against one another with the 4:35 time bank, actually. The past 10 versus Boston in 2020. How about that? There you go. It's interesting. And also, I mean, there's a blast of the past of the Titans versus Hangzhou in 2019 right at the top. That's a rare one. Don't think you're going to be seeing that too often.
Some classic GOATs play. Brigitte.
Yeah, exactly.
Very impactful there. Haxel, one of the best Brigs we've ever seen in the league.
Very snowbally.
Yep. Not playing currently, though, which is going to lead us to this. I mean, I am interested to see what teams end up playing when it gets to King's Row. We've seen some of the teams in the league dabble with Orisa comps. We were hearing it in the interviews in the West, actually, that a lot of teams began this stage playing Orisa compositions and now have gone more towards Ball and a little bit of Winston stuff. In the East last night, the Seoul Dynasty was making use of Orisa comps as well. So I think for a team like the Boston Uprising, who've already showcased in this series that they have the ability, the will to want to bring out Stand 1 on Orisa, that is definitely somewhere that they could go.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Yeah, definitely, I think. Throwing these teams off a little bit as well. It comes down to, I mean, I've realized just from that one map as well, but in theory I was thinking, well, I feel like the Orisa doesn't really have too much to offset this kind of composition that Boston are running if you have a Pharah player on the opposing side who really knows how to play the angles and stay out of the line of sight. But it really does come down to, I think, the Diva player. Punk is so important, vitally important, in terms of how he's managing and tracking the position with Naga to ensure that he doesn't really get that massive impact that we saw the other day. I think the off-tank is often on a roll where you don't really get to see that impact a lot of the time, but I'm certainly going to be paying attention to Punk leading deeper into this series.
Paris have gone for Farah Hanzo here to break the Orisa, and this is just unbelievable amounts of poke damage. Without two shields, the Boston Uprising's shielding from the Orisa is just going to melt immediately. So, Stand 1 doesn't even bother with the shield that's on the point. There's no point playing behind it, because only got a Naga would take it down instantly.
See Boston are running Myunbong on the Zen as well, just to apply that Discord Orb onto whatever target. Pistola getting D-Mech there. Next target going to be hunting for it.
That's pretty big,
trying to
actually.
basically poke him down. Yeah, huge pick for them. Still Stand 1 dying. That's a good trade, honestly, for the Paris Eternal on the attacking side. Going to be able to get back into this fight with 6 a lot quicker. And still going to look to try and take this fight further forward as well. Nice concussive blast. Going to be pushing him right into the line of sight. The Punk just has to manage as well. All the rockets coming his team's way.
Yeah, you can see the positioning is so much better for Paris here. They just have Boston Uprising pinned into an angle, and it's almost an inevitability. At some point you will get these picks, and you will eventually poke down and crush the players that are in the corner. It's almost impossible for Boston to be able to find a counter response, honestly. Unless they get a huge amount of damage from Color Hex and Punk onto Naga, and even if you do, the res can come out in most of those scenarios. Or what else are you waiting for? Draw the team fight out long enough to get value out of an EMP or a hack? Like, those are the other options. And they're coming back in here
This
with
is
EMP.
being contested. The EMP comes through. The Nano Boost to try and keep Naga up and ensure that he survives it, but Onigod is just absolutely teared into them. I think that's the Stormage just absolutely decimating 2 headshots, finding his mark. Naga has the barrage, and with Punk demeched, might just choose to offload it here. Might not even need it, honestly. Could probably just save this one. Really good team fight, realistically, for the Paris Eternal. Getting that many ultimates out of the Boston Uprising and still capping it up with a very rapid time back.
It's an incredibly bold team fight to take, in my opinion, Brent. I mean, when the EMP comes out, Myeonbong has had to just run with his Transcendence through the choke. And you have Onigod and Naga set up on good angles. I mean, that is some nasty shooting from Onigod, though, to be able to get those 2 picks. If he got pressured down early, maybe that is winnable for the Boston Uprising. But I think you would love to have those ults here in this choke point where Paris are finding it difficult to get through. And now Paris have just all the tools they need to go swarming forward. You've given Onigod another Dragon Strike.
I don't think they know the stand 1 is behind. Okay, they heard the sound cue. Dragon Strike going to be cutting across the point now as well. This is going to give them a bit of space to try and get around this corner as well, push them all back. Boston, they've got ultimates. The rally is going to be used now to try and keep them alive. Naga from the high ground, though, still holding onto this barrage. Ready and waiting. Trying to track that defense matrix, but Punk is being quite reserved, conservative with it. You see the mines and the self-destruct straight up into the air to try and clear a bit of space away from them. But they're playing indoors right now, and there's the barrage. Right around the corner, hacked out of it, but he did get the kill into Myeonbong. Still, it's an even fight. The Paris Eternal 3-on-3 and getting that D-Mech. The tank's very weak at the moment. I'm 37, not being able to get any sort of heals. It's going to translocate out of that one, so Paris just still steadily pushing this one. It's a bit of an awkward team fight, though, the way it works. I think the spawners are pretty split equally in terms of the time it takes to run actually back into the action.
Yeah, absolutely. They focused a lot of resources on getting Khan. Big minefield coming out from Dan to be able to limit that kind of area. But now the player to look at is I'm 37. And another EMP available here, and they can go for something big. You want to see Stan 1 and Color Hex working together as this EMP comes through, but that's a damage-boosted rocket. That just one-shots Color Hex.
So hard to play into, realistically.
And now, I mean, do you even go for this at this point?
The Dragon Strike, they're going for it. The EMP is committed. The Boston Uprising trying to invest into this fight to turn it around. I suppose maybe Color Hex can get back in time. Transcendence to keep their team up, but Punk has been demeched. You're investing into a losing fight. It's going to take a miracle for them to try and turn this around. The remake kill onto Color Hex as well. I mean, that's just style points, I suppose. And it is going to be an inevitable team fight win here for the Paris Eternal. Not too much
and this is Boston
really thrown into it.
Boston have... Oh, my word, okay. All right. Okay, Naga, that's a bit of style points, isn't it? But Boston Uprising have taken 2 team fights at this point on their defense at King's Road that are highly inadvisable. They started them with a big disadvantage. They've never been able to take team fights on their own terms. Once they get the EMP up, they're having to kind of wrestle their way back in. They're always uphill fights. They're kind of... I think they need to take a breath here. But now isn't the time. You're facing defeat at Checkpoint C.
Definitely seeing struggle to try and at least shove the Paris Eternal off, especially with this high ground position being controlled. So much damage. They're just trying to avoid it by playing indoors. The Boston Uprising desperate for a pick-off. There's the minefield into the power drive to clear a bit of space. Dragon Strike was also going to be cutting them across. That was Onigod somehow. Not really finding too much with it, but with Vestola getting demeched, I think the Boston Uprising are in a very solid position here. Paris probably just going to want to back off from this.
Yeah, I would agree. They used that Rally as well, and Rally is obviously a major tool, a really good ultimate that the Paris Eternal don't have access to. A win condition in many of these fights. And now Boston are actually in a position where they can have Trance, they can have EMP, and they can probably take a good fight. This is one of the only times where they can take a good, advantageous fight with EMP. Onigod has swapped over to the Cowboy here as well, as Naga is up in the skies with Barrage. He's going to be able to do a little bit of poke, but you got to imagine that Boston will find an opportunity to just go aggressive.
Oh. Wait a second, that's so much damage indoors right there, done! Solo just trying to zip away through, 50 health, 66, dodges the pulse bomb, but still Naga's going to be pressured out, and there's the res instantly. Rudro with the Valkyrie popped, able to get away with that safely. This EMP connects onto a large amount of the opposition. I think that's 4 players that are going to be hacked up. Not getting back into the mech there, but it seems like Faith as well. Overstepping himself ever so slightly down into the backline now, lays down the mines as well, blocking off the path of retreat. Barrage still in hand. Naga with the damage boosters trying to get at least 1 rocket onto some of the opposition, and there you go. The damage followed up as Vestola is immediately diving into the backline. The D-Mech onto Punk means that this barrage is not really going to be anything to stop it. Naga, he knows it. Going to be offloading it right there onto the cart. So much damage just tracking away at stand 1. So low still. Just trying to buy time desperately. The Boston Uprising know that they could potentially stall this one out. They need to get it down below a minute. They get it down to 59 seconds. Could be critical.
That one was close. I mean, Paris will be happy that they just managed to get it over the line. And the Boston Uprising's defense was not great that entire time. But that really could have been fantastic if Paris had been able to respond after losing map 1 with a minute in the time back. I mean, nevertheless, it has been good. And the Boston Uprising, I think, so far have proven, even though they're 1-0 up in the series, they're struggling to deal with Naga's Pharah. Every time Paris Eternal have come out with a Pharah composition, it's been difficult for Boston. They did manage to win both of the rounds on Ilios, but a lot of those team fights where Naga was playing the Pharah, it felt like all of the resources are committed in that direction, and they're finding it difficult to really find an answer. Normally, your answers against Pharahs are in 3 different directions. Either you match the Pharah, which the Boston Uprising don't seem like they're willing to do. I was speculating maybe that's what Telehex is in, but not so far. Or you're running a lot of hit scan and a lot of stuff to try and shut the Pharah down, but that's a little more difficult in this meta, though the Boston Uprising have tried to do that a bit. Or you just give up on shutting down the Pharah and you try and overwhelm people on the floor as much as possible. But with how slow these team fights happen, with the Brig in the backline and with the ball compositions, just it's without a Lucio as well, it's very difficult for that option. Which is why we're speculating so much Pharah is going to be involved. And that is so... I mean, in the previous fight, Colorhex got one-tapped by a damage-boosted rocket, and then he gets sat on by a mech.
Yeah. Unfortunate, really. Unfortunate. Still, boss on the attack. Try and respond with a reasonable time. Definitely try and get any sort of capture on the board as well, to have a bit of time to work with. Don't need to worry about getting it over the minute mark, really. They're not even focused on that, they're just trying to get checkpoint A at the moment. And it is just Naga spamming it up, just trying to build up this EMP. In the backline, no one really dealing with him too much, trying to go for those frontline hacks onto the tank line. That's a lovely shield bash. Instantly taking care of him.
In the meantime, though, Onigod is going crazy. The Boston Uprising did so much chip damage off the back of that Onigod's Tracer is tearing them to pieces. And he's got constant backup from Dan and Vestola as well. Vestola playing fantastically too, and he has been since he was added to Paris Eternal. But this has bought time for Naga to be able to get back into the fight. He's behind in terms of EMP generation, but the defensive Sombra normally has an advantage there anyway. So I think he'll be able to catch up pretty quickly.
Yeah, perhaps not too impactful that he died early on in that team fight. Onigod has the pulse bomb. That is a stick. Connecting it perhaps onto the wrong target. Yeah, that was onto Punk, so unable to secure the kill or the D-Mech.
I thought it hits Color Hex there. I thought that was going to be an easy pick.
Not the case, though. Now they just heal it up. Going to start to slowly push in here. Holt going to get 8 up. EMP into the backline. That's the tanks with nowhere to really move. But the EMP not really getting too much work. I think that only connected onto Dark. Rally armor also engaged a little bit early on there by Drijo. Gives their team a bit more armor to work with into this fight. That's a Transcendence, and with Punk demeched, it seems like the Paris Eternal have a massive advantage into this fight.
Yeah, Drijo has fallen though, and Khan's Transcendence was a little too late to be able to save him just because of that. Here's the EMP, he hears it, great play by Myeongbong.
Yeah, wonderful reactions there from Myeongbong as well. Just saving his team, honestly, with a Transcendence, otherwise that's probably going to be a lost team fight straight up. And now he's going to be still just putting in that damage, trying to play with the rest of his team nice and close to them so that they can peel from him effectively. Colorhex putting in the damage, he's got the supercharger. Lay it up. He's got that damage amplification and that boost coming in. Now they can start to slowly play the point, but also all this is going on. They're finding themselves getting picked off around the hotel area. This is unusual, honestly, with the supercharger gone down as well. I don't understand how they get away with that.
That is crazy, yeah. They just played the angles, and the Boston Uprising were not coordinated enough to be able to focus down the targets that really mattered. This is wild. Dan is getting hacked and discorded in a lot of these situations, but like we saw yesterday, the Paris Eternal don't really care if they lose their record board. They're just full committed to the fights off the back of it.
Does another stick, this time onto a bit more of a squishier target. Follow up on the power driver as well to get that kill onto Colorhex. And of course they want to get a couple of these stagger kills if possible.
This is dominant. This is dominant from Paris on defense. It feels like every time Boston get into a position where they can punish Naga or punish Dan, Onigod and Vestola just swarm on them. And the Boston haven't really been able to get anything done. This Orisa Soldier 76 idea is not working for them. They haven't even been able to get into a good position. It's not like they're trying to path towards the high ground at all. They just continue to take these low ground positions where they get swarmed and surrounded by Paris Eternal.
CMP's got to be huge though from 937. 24 seconds left. It's their last chance. There needs to be some form of follow-up. 937, you can see that he's a little bit cautious in terms of how he wants to offload it, but already 2 picks. Kolex and Myeongbong have gone down. The rally armor pop by Faith, but Drijo managed to get it off as well. Nothing going to be gained there from the EMP. Still perhaps winnable for them. Pulse 1-1 to the ground. Onigod just trying to cancel up that neutral hack. And Kolex, it's desperation. He's moved over to the Widowmaker just to see if he can hit a couple of heads when they're taking this team fight up close and personal. Overtime going for them. Body's going to be trying to touch this point. Vestola using that self-destruct to just push everybody away. Myeongbong has to use the Transcendence, but only to touch, and it's not even going to be able to do just that. That is going to be the Paris Eternal taking King's Row in a dominant fashion, bringing the series up to 1-1.
Easy stuff for them. King's Row was absolutely dominant in favor of Paris. They had a much better idea. And it wasn't even by relying on Naga playing the Pharah. Their defense is where they really won this map. And it was by being able to get big value out of Onigod and setting him up. And keeping their backline just so safe. Against this Orisa composition, it felt like Boston Uprising had not really thought through where they wanted to take the team fights. And they were just giving so much of the map control over to the Paris side. And that's a weird one. But like we said at the beginning, you can barely draw a line between these two teams. They are neck and neck in the season.
So even. And yeah, the series living up to that fact massively. We'll see if we can get any more massive plays from the DPS duos on either side of these teams on the other side of the break zone. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Even more Overwatch League coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
There were so many awesome creations submitted to the Summer Showdown Frag video contest this year. We've narrowed it down to the top 5, and it's your chance to vote for the winner. It's the last day to do so, so make sure you head over to blizzard.wishpond.com/summer-showdown today to cast your vote for the winner of the $3,000 grand prize. You don't want to miss out on that one. Last day, make sure you get it in. I can't believe we're at the end of July already. That's actually taken me for a spin, to be honest.
Yep, yeah. It's we're outside of the Summer Showdown, but I guess summer is still upon us. I don't know. I don't really know where summer begins and ends in the US. It just, where I seem to live, it just seems to be hot all the time. Not in Boston, though. Boston definitely has its fair share of fall and winter, so.
I quite like it. It's one of my preferred seasons, I would say.
What is summer?
No, fall, I think. I think summer's overrated, to be honest. I remember seeing some posts saying that we've conditioned ourselves to thinking summer is the best season because it's when people associate it with their time off from either like school or work, which was quite interesting. You know, it really made me think about it, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's the important thing.
It has nothing to do with Overwatch, so I don't know why we're talking about it, but I'll tell you what does have something to do with Overwatch. Valentine is in for Color Hex, so there's a little bit of a substitution change for you. I don't really know what this is going to signify because we expected Color Hex to be playing some of the fire, and that's why he's in, but Valentine, very well-versed player as well, has been playing for a lot of this season so far for the Boston Uprising.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to read into this. We're heading towards Rialto, and I haven't really seen enough Rialto getting played so far in the Countdown Cup to know what teams might be wanting to run here. So far, we've seen a lot of Orisa being played from Boston. Maybe they feel like Valentine is their fire player to come in and play it. Maybe they're looking to move away from the Soldier 76, and so that's the reason why Color Hex is no longer in, because that definitely seemed to be the majority of his time was spent playing the long-range hit scan there, so I don't know. I think it still requires more data for us to get a good idea of what these teams like to play. We saw Paris play yesterday, so we have a pretty good understanding of what they're going to want to default towards. But Boston are playing something a little more unusual when it comes to these Western teams, at least from the very small sample size we've got so far.
Yeah, certainly Rialto. A lot of opportunities here. I do wonder, maybe they are going to match in the Farah, I'm not too sure. I actually can't even remember if it's in Valentine's wheelhouse, to be honest.
Yeah, he's a very well-rounded flex support. What am I talking about? Flex DPS player. So yeah, the projectile stuff I think he's going to be very comfortable with. I don't know whether it's more likely than just leaving Color Hex in, because Color Hex has definitely played a ton of fire in the past. But
yeah, absolutely.
Who knows? Who knows? It may be a point in the series where they want to reevaluate the style that they're playing as well. It seems like here Valentine's going to start playing Soldier. So no big compositional difference. Nice little parkour tech there. As Valentine slides his way across the roof. And Faith joins him. But yeah, they're going to start out playing a very similar style to what we've seen so far from Boston. And you've got to imagine Paris, they're probably going to look at this coming out the spawn and just swap to Farah Hangzhou, as they were playing before.
4, 3, 2.
And yeah, I mean, it worked to a degree, I suppose. Not quite on Ilios, but definitely making those adaptations over the course of the series to ensure that it does work out. That concussion blast not quite connecting. Going against the line of sight there, but just going to be a bit of a rotation of positioning now for the Boston Uprising. Still don't want to give up this high ground for as long as possible. If they can stay up there, that's ideal. But the way they're rotating around right now is that they're trying to take these long pokes. Actually going to be completely giving them this corner, or not quite. Spoke too soon. They're still going to start to play now around this corner bend. It's one of the strongest positions to try and play around on checkpoint A.
Bit of a boot there from Dan onto stand 1. They take him low and apply a purple over to him. Khan and Dan working together to be able to apply more pressure to that front line. I'm 37, getting up to 65% of his EMP so far, but it's the poke damage that's making the difference from Paris.
Yeah, and I'm trying to play right up in the front line. He's desperately trying to build up this EMP as well. A lot of pressure applied to the DPS there, but not enough to get a kill. Only got able to just get the help he needs, and look at that. straight away, the Paris Eternal, it's almost just like you're overfilling a cup of water, you know, just eventually the pressure and the damage that they're putting out just becomes a little bit too much for you to heal and survive and mitigate with the shields, and you find all of the kills start going their way all at once.
That was a very weird little interaction there from I'm37. He thought about going onto one of the gondolas and then managed to escape. But these players that are forward spawned, Paris are looking to hunt them down. You can hear Naga barking out orders, looking to come around the back, and what a barrage. Oh, good hack, actually, and Punk there as well with the defense matrix. They mitigate a lot of the damage done, and they can go on a bit of a counter-attack.
They could absolutely off the back of those kills. Sleep down on time 37 though. I mean, can't just threading the needle with that one. This team's got to back him up real quick. They're still trying to build up these EMPs quickly. Paris though, I mean, they took that team fight at a pretty favorable location. The card's really not going to get contested too much just outside here. It's a pretty bad position to try to defend from, but he has that Dragon Strike, and this could be nasty.
You can see him setting up. It's a lovely angle for him, but Boston are actually going aggressive.
Yeah, Boston going to try and go aggressive. There's a Dragon Strike getting across. They maybe, yeah, okay, they're completely aware of this one with the Nano Boost into the back. So much damage. Myeonbong so close to going down there. One rocket will do it. There you go. And Khan just follows up with the damage from afar. Punk's still alive, eating up the rockets, but not for much longer with the team that's available. That's the Paris Eternal still pushing this one steadily closer and closer to checkpoint B.
We didn't quite get to catch the aggression coming out from Boston, but it was halted again by a Bionade from Khan. And then Paris found the opportunity to go for the counter-attack with that Dragon Strike and with Naga taking the Nano Boost. So much of this built around Khan. And Boston Uprising, even though they're running a more aggressive, I mean, theoretically aggressive, divier, scrappier composition with the Sombra and the Tracer, haven't been able to get onto that Ana in the backline of Paris at all.
Nice self-destruct. And it does force the Boston Uprising to use that Transcendence just to push forward past these ults. Still trying to get a couple of these kills into the back with Darn hacked up. That's a good opportunity. Nice self-destruct over the top though. Khan had nowhere to run, and that's Punk really setting that up for his team. Got the res off, but I think it's going to be futile at the end of it as well. Too many players of the Boston Uprising alive, and a wonderful hold, honestly. Particularly at this area of Rialto as well. This is exactly where you want to be trying to hold them. The card is dangerously close to the end of the objective there. You can see a checkpoint B. They'd probably want it to be closer to the corner so they can play on the staircase. So there's still the threat of the back cap, I suppose, but I don't know if that was intended. Possibly just swapping.
He's definitely swapping. That's just throwing out an ult towards the end of it.
99% sure that he was planning on swapping, but also I like to pretend that there was a 1% chance that he wasn't, and he swaps out of embarrassment.
I feel like that has happened before in the Overwatch League, maybe not in that instance. They have been putting a lot more pressure on Khan recently. The self-destruct that went over the back from Punk that managed to pick off Khan, then they chased him down after he got rezzed by Dredro, and then again, Valentine pressuring him as they come back off the respawn. So I like that. Oh, hello. What on earth are the Paris Eternal doing over there? Dan hopped over the wall at the back and just got destroyed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dan's ball has been really interesting to watch, honestly, Brad, because he gets punished a lot, but he does also set up his team for a lot of engages. It's difficult to evaluate.
We get all to be taken. I mean, Valentine just responds with the pulse bomb. He's going to get the instant res, though. Dredro has the Valkyrie popped and ready. I'm going to slowly try and take this fight, but it's just around the corner. Valentine goes down, overstepping himself. That's the EMP.
To Dredro.
Yeah, to Dredro, nevertheless. Mines across the point, though, right in front of the cart. And Khan is in a precarious situation right here. He is trapped in the alleyway. He doesn't really have anywhere to run, but I don't think they can kill him because they do have the team now just starting to play in between them both. But there's the mines just removing Dan from the battle. The rally popped just in case, keeping Myeonbong topped up with a lot of armor in the back line. Not going to be dying to any of these damage boosted rockets anytime soon. And this has just been one prolonged team fight. Neither side really finding an edge, but I mean, that's perfectly fine if you're the defenders. If you're the Boston Uprising, like, okay, well, if you're not getting any kills, we're essentially winning. But now it might be turned around. Onigod, it's a nice pulse bomb, forced out that Transcendence. Myeonbong not going to be having it for the next fight, and now they are concerned because they know that Naga's coming up close to that barrage. You can see them coming. He's got his eyes glued to the sky just in case. Valentine falling. This could be an opening now for Paris.
And that bomb just pushes everybody away too. Beautiful positions from the Paris Eternal. Naga with a Discord Orb on him as well. Punk right up in his face. They do manage to shut down that threat. and this is going to get extremely
Nice.
scrappy. Dredro gets the res off just in the middle of everybody.
I mean, just incredible peel from Vestola as well. Saving it, the coordination, the communication, everything was there, but still Valentine might be able to clutch this one up. The postman landed onto Khan, and he's been so integral with his Bionades the entire time, setting up their team for success. The Boston Uprising with 8 seconds left to try and defend this point. Paris desperate to try and turn it over, but the kills are going all their way. Wonderful place to try and get this hold off now. The overtime comes through, and the rally just about popped. No one's going to be able to touch that. Getting a hold just before checkpoint B.
Second half of that defense, Valentine came alive, and that's I've got to theorize that that's one of the reasons he was brought in, right? If you want to play more Sombra Tracer to try and mitigate the impact of the rest of the team, so like I said, one of the choices when you're playing against a Pharah, you kind of ignore the Pharah and try and really focus on the battle on the ground and stopping the other team from gaining space on the floor. And that does seem to be the Boston Uprising's adjustment here. Valentine swapped off pretty early from Soldier to the Tracer. And once he was on Tracer, there was a moment where he was just getting to grips with it, and then, boom, he's into the backlines, assassinating Khan, pulling off picks all over the place. I did like the setup from Paris Eternal in that final fight, but Naga just didn't get enough value out of the barrage. If he gets a kill there, if he gets 2 kills, it's just locked up. That's checkpoint B completely secured. But he couldn't find the value, and it was great work mitigating it again by Punk. Myeonbong, Faith, Disco Door, Punk in his face, Faith with a whip shot, taken out.
Yeah, and that's a good option, or a good answer, I suppose, from the Boston Uprising off the back of that last map. Getting that hold right there. I mean, they can clearly see what their win condition is now, how they need to play this.
Yep, it does give them some very good ideas, but it also helps the Paris Eternal understand where they should be taking team fights on defense, like where to invest their ultimates, you know? So I think I might be wrong with this, but I think most Overwatch teams, when we've asked them in interviews, prefer to attack first. Prefer to defend first, because it lets you know where you need to be investing resources on your offense. But I think it's pretty up in the air.
Well, running the Arista compositions again, the Boston Uprising just going to be chugging along, trying to push the payload through. It looks like they're gearing up for potentially, okay, bit of a split approach. Now they're going to be rotating up to the high ground here, so shield onto the payload. So I'm 37 is going to get some free push as they try and take up onto the high ground here. Vestola is in danger. That is a great halt, actually, catching on the neutral hack to follow it up. That's a DMEC instantly. Still, no one's been dealing with Naga, and he's been just high up in the skies, able to coordinate that. The shots popping off with the damage boost on top of it. Myeonbong taken out. Punk just trying to deal with this one, but he's taking so much damage off onto the side there.
Nano Tracer
pumping it in. There's the nano boost onto Onigot to try and at least get something done, but he's hacked up. Not really too much he can do. Just trying to play in and out of these shields. Doesn't have the recall. Onigot is in trouble. Has to play out of that fight now. Can't afford to take too many risks. Barrage online. It seems like the Boston Uprising of killing Khan and Dan. Well, they're in a very tasty position to just push this through. Honestly, a free checkpoint A, all things considered.
Okay, good EMP there from M37. It cancels the barrage and limits him. Oh my word. Naga just drops to his death. M37 given the credit because he was hacked at the time. But here's the thing. Naga's impact is being really reduced here by Punk. Punk is all over him. And this is where you often see teams run Pharah Sombra compositions, because it's almost impossible for the D.Va to get value if they have to worry about a Sombra and also try and shut down a Pharah. You can hack the D.Va and then your Pharah is just going to town. Or if they're bothered about the Pharah, your Sombra just runs rampant. But Onigot doesn't really seem to have that in his wheelhouse. They've been playing Pharah Tracer almost all the time. So Paris may be a little limited here in terms of their rotation of player personnel across this meta.
Certainly quite difficult for them. And there's an adaptation as well, the pressure they're applying to Khan the entire time. It's pretty big, honestly. The way that Boston end up losing a lot of these team fights comes from the setup of the Bionades and the damage boosted rockets. I don't think there was one there, but Stanmon went down regardless. That's going to be forcing out the rally. Faith wants to keep this fight going. Punk, you can see him just trying to manage so many different elements of the fight at once. You really do just need to, I feel like, partition your brain if you're playing the off-tank, and right now it's going to need more than that. Naga has that nano boost, but hacked up straight away and taken down. Transcendence keeping his whole team alive. Myeonbong ready now, rotating away from that self-destruct. It did buy space for the res onto Naga, but Naga goes down straight away, instantly. That's from the Supercharger and the Discord Orb. The guy just got melted. No one's dealt with Valentine with a Helix Rocket on Onigod as well. He's taken out, and this is looking like they're just sailing it in.
Yeah, easy stuff. Halt towards the end as well, and that was domination. Boston Uprising on their offense could not be stopped. And I want to put the spotlight on Punk and I'm 37 because
sure.
Punk was always all over Naga, but also whenever Naga came down to the floor within range of I'm 37's playing with the pack, not wasting his time running around in the back line like we saw yesterday. Instead, he's right there with the rest of his team ready to get the hacks onto the Pharah and build up the EMPs at a fast rate and get value out of them as well. Fantastic basic Sombra performance there, and they just came in with a strategy that has completely neutralized the Paris Eternals Pharah.
Absolutely. Wonderful stuff from the Boston Uprising, being able to come up with these game plans as well to try and shut down what was working for the Paris Eternal the other day. We're going to find out on the other side of the break if the Paris Eternal can battle back and adapt to what's being thrown their way to try and stay in this series. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. And yeah, taking a look at the Valentine stats here. Tracer on Rialto. I mean, these are some numbers. 100% efficiency when it comes to the attach rate of the pulse bombs. The guy was looking kind of nasty, honestly. I mean, off the back of that Rialto game, it's understandable. It was a bit of a roll, actually, for the Boston Uprising. They clearly really understood the assignment that was handed to them.
Yeah, that's crazy good. I mean, we said it when they're on defense. Valentine just heated up. He found so many opportunities to get into the back and apply pressure to Khan. And I think that you can clearly see that this roster swap has freed up other players as well to be able to properly counter the Paris Eternal style. This is a match where both teams are really trying to pivot and create strategic changes in how they're approaching the game. King's Row was incredibly one-sided to the Paris Eternal, and then we came out onto Rialto, and it's really one-sided in the opposite direction to the Boston Uprising. So now heading into our fourth map of the series, I kind of want to see what Paris's response is. I think it's pretty clear to me that the Pharah is not going to work long-term. Like, they can't just run the Pharah in every single map and expect value the entire way through. Boston have clearly got a game plan about that, around that, and unless Paris adjusts some things, particularly, I think, to try and put more emphasis on maybe getting rid of Punk to free Naga up, or swapping back over to a Tracer Sombra comp themselves, then Volskaya is going to be very difficult for them.
Yeah, Volskaya being the stage that we're going to next. This map as well. You do see some Pharah being played actually from time to time as well over the rooftops of Checkpoint A. But yeah, it definitely feels like the Paris Eternal are being checked a little bit right now, and the Boston Uprising have come into this one obviously with the advantage of watching the match the other day. They know exactly how to be adapting to it. It does give them a bit of an advantage, of course, coming into this one, but at the same time, that's the game of Overwatch. You've got to learn to be able to adapt on the fly and figure out exactly why you might be losing in a given map, and this is the opportunity to do so right now on Volskaya Industries to try and get back into this series.
I think if I'm looking for an adaptation for Paris here, especially on Volskaya, I'm thinking about running way more Sombra Tracer. I think Naga picking up the Sombra is going to be really effective for them. The Boston Uprising struggled to deal with that on King's Row when Paris were defending. And Naga was in so many positions where they were just getting free hacks, making use of high ground. If the Boston Uprising try and attack here again with an Orisa comp, I would be way more happy about that as a strategy. Boston are going to start on defense, and it looks like once more they're going for these Orisa compositions. And yeah, I'm definitely thinking for Paris that they're going to have more long-term success with trying the Sombra Tracer compared to running the Pharah Hangzhou. But that could be an option for them as well. Don't want to rule it out because, again, like you said, there are many ways of getting good angles to be able to put a lot of poke pressure on these guys.
Yep, certainly. Boston Uprising, well-versed in terms of running this composition right now. Door's going to be opening up soon enough. See Naga's on the Symmetra, probably just to get them out the doors nice and early so that the team can take the high ground position here. Is going to be making the switch, or maybe just sticking with it. There we go, onto the Pharah.
So they are going to go with the Pharah. Are they going to go for the Hangzhou as well then? Because that would make the most sense to me. No, okay, so they're going for Soldier 76. All right. Okay, well, it's still a large amount of poke damage, for sure, but it means that the Soldier is going to have to rotate into some aggressive positions where he himself becomes a bit of a target.
Yeah, I wonder if the point of it is, you know, if you hit these damage-boosted rockets like Naga's doing right now, the Hangzhou can't, particularly, I suppose, I mean, Hangzhou arrows being projectiles is a bit of a meme because they're so quick at the end of it, but I wonder if it's slightly easier to follow up on the damage that is being done. And we already see that Onegod's getting a pick off the back of it. That's a nice concussion blast. And one just completely separated from the rest of his team. And yeah, this damage is just immense. How do you even overcome that one? Concussion blast to send him straight off the edge. A little D-mech as well. Onto Punk. This is going to be a quick cap.
That's devastation. I don't think you can do that as easily when it comes to Checkpoint B. There just isn't as much space for the attackers to be able to work around. But what you will see sometimes is the Pharahs go across the right-hand side with a Nano Boost. So Naga might choose to go forwards here and flank once with a Nano Boosted Barrage. So I think for Punk, it's about covering that left-hand route. He's got his eyes towards it at the moment, but when we see this from Naga or Punk's point of view, you'll see that this flanking The route is incredibly likely to be utilized.
I'm 37. Okay, they see the nano boost being used now. And yep, just trying to flank around. That's the EMP committed onto him just to make sure that he's locked down, glued to the floor, but it fades away. 5 HP, getting the heals from Khan, while Khan's being pressured, still staying up and alive, and now the barrage committed. That's Punk demeched. Start to get a bit of capture percentage on the board. Last Eternal now. Trying to build up these ults. That's a tactical visor used as well from afar. Onigod getting pressured very heavily right now as well, as Stanwon's just trying to basically layer in the damage into him, but he's still able to put in a lot of it from afar. Him and Khan as well, this deadly duo. Khan has the Discord orb on him. Has to play quite careful around this one, but a self-destruct from Vestola around the corner is going to push them all the way for but a moment. Post bomb around the side. Valentine not getting a kill from it, but still trying to pressure the backline, trying to take out Khan, but nobody can kill him. Vestola will get demeched. Khan's building up this nano boost, an opportunity to recontest perhaps. Darn dying. I don't know if they want to commit to this fight, but they still use the nano boost anyway. Onto Naga. Valentine still tearing them up. Naga hasn't really got too much done at all. In fact, hacked up onto the ground, had nowhere to go away from that self-destruct.
Bit rushed there from Paris towards the end. They definitely should have taken a moment to go for a reset with Dan getting picked and Vestola out of mech, but you know, they went for it. They saw an opportunity. Can't blame them too much for that. We'll see whether they make any adjustments, but it seems like they're getting good value. They got 2 ticks out of that as well. And the big thing that we were noticing from Rialto, where I'm 37 is hacking the fire and they were able to get the punish really quickly, it just didn't happen. I don't believe anyone was really in a position to follow up from Naga when he was hacked. He just landed on top of the high ground and was relatively safe. But now he's going to be going back in. Another barrage available for Naga, and I'm 37 has an EMP.
It's a pulse bomb. Almost online. EMP comes through, but I'm Thursday. Oh, I mean, he just dies instantly. Yeah, solo EMP doesn't really get the work done that they were looking for. That's a volley from a farm. Youngbong shutting down that barrage, but the insta-res is there. It was going to be safe for it. We're up to 83.5%. Just out of line of sight of that power driver, so Onigod's going to be avoiding that damage, but has the heal. Just trying to dodge Duke. Dip and glide out of the way, but not enough. The beat down from Stan 1 takes him out.
And these pushes have not been particularly effective from Paris, these last couple. I think it's definitely a compositional swap in order here. Onigod's making the... Oh, well, he flirted with Sombra just for a moment, but he's going to move back over to Tracer. It does feel like now would be the right time to try and build up towards an EMP to close this out. You only need a single tick. Bashing your heads against a brick wall is probably ill-advised. I'm 37 is being able to win these team fights. Well, I mean, didn't really win the last one off the back of his EMP, but he's been able to charge them up so effectively because he's using the EMP at the beginning of the fight. And then all of that cleanup is just generation of the next ultimate. He's at 70%, and they have double support ultimate to kind of deal with this Nano Pharaoh that's going to come in. I don't really see how Paris get this unless Naga goes crazy.
Yeah, Nano boost onto Naga. So immediately jumped in, what a sleep dart! Oh, the damage just waking him up, so they couldn't follow up on that and take out Valentine, but it has created space for them. Need to worry about the Tracer in the back line with no recall online. Post bomb off to the side, not going to be touching. That's the self-destruct as well, across the point. They need that kill, and Punk will fall. 83% still on the objective. They're still trying to cap this one up, but I'm 37. Enough time has been bought and purchased. There we go.
Oh, wow.
EMP going to be gliding through, but Naga already with 2 kills off the back of that barrage. Traded out. It's still a winnable fight right now for the Boston Uprising, especially with the spawners coming in.
Yeah, the spawners are going to get flooded back in here, and the Paris Eternal just don't have enough people, it seems. Valentine in the back, being able to take down Onigod as well, wins that Tracer 1v1, and this is just brutal. It's bullying. Vestola escorted into the murky depths of the Volskaya River. And now, finally, the Paris Eternal are going to make compositional swaps. Dredro to Brig, and Naga over to the Sombra. But this could have been done a minute ago, I think, with way more success. They've left themselves time for 1 EMP, but even that is difficult. When you're the attacking Sombra, it's way harder to farm. And Stan 1 up on this high ground position with a shield is just going to deny that EMP generation even harder.
Okay, well, Onigod with the pulse bomb, that actually does connect onto Valentine. Wonderful little setup, and they're just trying to put the pressure into the back line there. Anything to try and make it work, but look at that chase down. Yeah, Onigod, really not many places that he could go. Stan 1 falls, no more main tank for them. Now Paris Eternal are actually finding a bit of a foothold here. They've gained a bit of positioning onto the point, and they can start to accrue the percentage. You can see the Boston Uprising force to just dump the bodies onto the point to try and stop this one from getting capped up, but well, not going to be the case. 33 seconds on the board there. Eventually for the Paris Eternal, able to break through.
And Dredro turned into a raid boss at the end. He took the nano from Khan and was just forging a path forwards. But great work. I mean, all the credit in the world there to Onigod to be able to open that one up. Great first pick, and then harassment in the back line as well.
Yeah, sometimes
nicely played to, yeah, just create an opportunity for them. And Valentine has not had the same explosive performance on the Tracer that he did on Rialto defense. He had moments, but we saw a couple of pulse bombs that didn't quite go in the right direction compared to his 100% stick rate. Obviously, you don't expect the Tracer to be able to keep up a 100% pulse bomb attach rate. Normally, even the best are hanging around like, what, 60, something like that?
Yeah, 60, give or take. Yeah, 100 is unachievable. Really, you're going to miss one every now and then.
You're just going for, like, wrecking balls that have been hacked or something?
Yeah, yeah.
How else
Only
would you
going
manage
for-
to farm that stat?
Yeah, pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But definitely good signs, honestly, from the Paris Eternal when they looked like they were getting chewed up on checkpoint B, getting that 33%, because it was looking a little bit concerning for them, despite the fast time back that they had. But now the Boston Uprising on the attacking side.
It's reminding me a little bit of King's Row at this point. You know, they managed to get it, a little bit of time left in the bank, and then they're swapping over to Tracer Sombra for defense. This time, though, Boston are not attacking with an Orisa comp. So they're not making it too easy for the Paris Eternal.
Yeah, Discord Orb available there. You can see on both of these teams running the Zenyatta as well. Crucial element.
They're swapping back over to Orisa here. I'm not a huge fan of this. Obviously, it gives you your shield and a tankier presence at the front to escort your
Seems
backline
slow.
into safe positions. It is very slow, and it's easy to harass them as they're rotating. Like right there.
Yeah, you can just start to build up these ultimates. That's a power drive. It did connect. Only onto Faith, though. They have managed to just rotate around.
They're rotating very safely here, Brent. They've pushed away Naga every single time he's tried to harass them. Naga is only at 17%, and Boston have already made it to the point. That's way better than they were doing on King's Row.
Power driver hacked, so Darn's not going to be able to get that one off. And they actually yoink down Vestola to the low ground. Almost a kill. That's so low. There you go. The D-Mech comes through. Onigod just traded out, though. Stand one falling, and this is going to need some heroics from the Paris Eternal right now on the defense if they want to try and hold this one for them. You can see the damage they're putting in. Khan just trying to find that off angle, I suppose, with the volleys to try and connect it, but taken out in the end. Boston Uprising on the attack. Bit of a slow siege, but getting the picks they need to potentially cap up checkpoint A here.
If you're Paris, you give them a couple of ticks and try and come back in, probably with an EMP. Maybe a pulse bomb. Naga's at 91%. He's desperately trying to farm up those last little percentage points that he requires. Paris are absolutely going to go for a recontest here. A pulse bomb stick from Onigod would be amazing.
Yeah. Right now, the Boston Uprising just trying to whittle away that objective. There's the EMP into the back. Okay, that was a lot of damage, but there was no kill. They couldn't kill Myeongbong still. Onigod right up in their faces. The pulse bomb didn't really do too much, but it forced the positioning. Now the EMP. I'm 37 trying to turn things around. Right up on his head. They're trying to turn this team fight in their direction. D-Mech's on the Divas there. A little bit of a battle is occurring onto the point between them all, but no one to stop them. The Paris Eternal losing too many players, so it's going to be almost 5 minutes for them to work with here.
What a crucial element there. I'm 37 hacking that mega health kit. He might get priority onto this defensive health kit as well here. Wow, they killed Redro too.
That's a stagger kill. He doesn't get the faster respawns.
True, yeah, that
I don't
could
think
be
they
another
have the
opportunity.
speed of the comp though to go quick.
Yeah,
It's not like they're running
the best case
Lucio.
scenario, they can start to get some positioning over on the left-hand side. I don't think I'm 37 has been able to hack the mega that's inside the defensive area, which would be a huge get for him in the Sombra v Sombra.
That's a good shot. Okay, well, he's back up anyway. Elevator change. Doesn't even matter that much. There we go. Hack onto Dan. Off onto the side. That's a great self-destruct to try and peel them away, though. Vestola recognized that they were in danger. Transcendence forced that as well. Myeongbong does not have it for this upcoming fight, but he's still able to get the kill. He comes out of the Transcendence and just domes Onigod.
No way.
Neutral hack there onto Vestola again, just trying to lock them all up, but it is chaos right now. What a self-destruct. Punk finding two. Naga and Dan down and out. Boston Uprising on the attack, looking to try and set a blitzering time.
Yeah, this is so difficult now for Paris. Onigod with a pulse bomb is really the only player that can come up with a miracle in this kind of instance. And Myeonbong takes him down again. I think Myeonbong even cancelled the pulse bomb that was in Onigod's hands. It had barely left his fingers. Myeonbong has been a beast on the Zen.
What an absurd performance, and now it's so hard to push into this right now when you've got Valentine set up on these long-range angles, the EMP from Mine 37. It's only going to connect onto the support line, but it's so difficult for them to just try and chop and change and jump onto the objective. Punk hunting down Naga. That's not going to be an EMP for this fight.
The rest of the Boston Uprising trying to establish into great positions. Myeonbong 90%. Stan 1 though with a Discord Orb on top of him does get pile drive taken down, and the Paris Eternal are coming back into this one. They have a rally. Oh my word!
Stunned. Just push them all away.
Yeah, stunned, eviscerated there, Dredro, and Khan just couldn't get to the point in time with his trance. That was hanging by a hair's breadth. But even so, I mean, the Boston Uprising were in control the majority of the time. It was just whether or not Paris could pull off a miracle and get back into it. Boston looking fierce in their attacking round.
Yeah, whatever this this comp is that the Boston Uprising are pulling out, I mean, it's working against the Paris Eternal, especially in terms of they know how to run it, they know how to take effective team fights from one after the other. So as you know, not relying on the fire as much as well when you get into that checkpoint B is the major advantage you have. As well, playing around I'm37 Sombra, which has been so critical in them getting these kills onto Dan or Pistola. Matching that time, in fact even better I should say, not even matching, 3 minutes 18 seconds in the time bank versus just the 1 minute that the Paris Eternal have. This composition, it can be quite slow to try and gain space and positioning. It relies a lot honestly on these pickoffs and the eventual chip damage. I think it was like a kill that Onigod got at the start, the reason why they managed to cap up checkpoint A last time so quickly, but it's no guarantee you're going to be able to get that.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm also honestly just amazed at how much Soldier 76 we're seeing in this meta. I thought that there was very little chance we'd see a resurgence of the legs, but he has come back in force. 52 seconds left. Soldier on either side as Naga decides to head to the skies to get this one done. A lot of poke damage, so again, the Boston Uprising are probably going to get corralled towards that mega health kit, and Paris are going to try and do chip damage, poke damage from long distance.
Bionades, damage boosted rockets, the chip damage, the helix rockets from afar. That's what they're trying to get, like an initial kickoff. Nice hack onto Naga. Has to play with the rest of his team indoors right now. 27 seconds remaining. Valentine dodging around the corner. That's a big Bionade. He's susceptible, he's hiding into the corner, their whole team is. It's given the Paris Eternal space now to work with. You set up Naga, he can just pump in these damage boosted rockets from the high ground, and they can slowly start to try and cap up this point right now. A huge Bionade again, but the Boston Uprising, they've taken out Khan and Dan. Damage has been done, it could be turnable for the Paris Eternal. Naga the barrage, that's 2 kills! What an absurd play, but is it going to be enough here?
Onigod, he is being damage boosted, but he's got a Discord Orb on top of his head. They've taken out Dredro at 90% of the Valkyrie. Surely that is enough. Dan is coming back in. Surely no one else is going to be able to get here in time. The Paris Eternal is so slow off the spawn.
I mean, they have so much damage. Dan's just trying to touch in and out of the point to keep this overtime going. Can anybody even get onto it? It's Naga, but he's hacked up. He's got nowhere to go. Already taken out straight away. Vistola as well, dodging, juking, just playing around the hut to try and keep him moving, but it will not be the case. What a wonderful play there from the Boston Uprising. I mean, they just were so conservative in the way that they were playing indoors. Really susceptible to Naga as well when he's pumping in the damage boosted rockets and everything, but managed to overcome it at the end despite the 2K that Naga got with the barrage.
I'm amazed that Paris didn't get a tick off that. Their positioning was so much better. They had Onigod in a long sight line, Naga was up above. Everyone in the Boston Uprising was in a tiny room, unable to really contest the objective. And then suddenly, boom, Dan and Khan have both fallen. We didn't even get to see it on our screens, but Paris must have chosen that opportunity to engage as Naga flanked around the back. And it went horribly wrong there for the Paris Eternal. They've got a great understanding of how they want to position themselves, Paris. But these big moments, when they try and finish the team fight, opens windows for Boston to counterattack. And I'm37 has been excellent in those scenarios. Being able to get hacks onto the right targets and set up kills onto, most of the time, Dan or Naga, has been crucial, a crucial win condition for Boston to rely on.
Now with 3 minutes to just get a singular tick on checkpoint A to win this series. It's looking like, I mean, a very solidified task ahead of them in terms of what they're going to be able to do it. Paris Eternal, on the other hand, is just thinking, my word, how do we defend this right now to keep ourselves in the series, to try and get the draw?
Yeah. But these two teams are neck and neck in the standings. Paris Eternal just taking the lead at 7 and 6. But the Boston Uprising, if they manage to get this win, oh my, it could really pull them ahead and start people talking about Boston as a team to watch. All of the hype recently has been on the Eternal.
Naga just trying to put in that spam. Obviously, the defensive Sombra getting to try and build up that EMP. Should have an advantage like that when they're rotating, but Boston was so clean with their rotations when they were playing this comp last time they attacked. They weren't really giving up any sort of space and positioning, and they're just ready to wait, honestly. I think it was I'm37's neutral hack, actually, that found them the opportunity last time. This time, Paris not playing as close, but eventually they're going to have to contest up this objective, because now they're putting some pressure onto it. They only need a single tick, remember. The damage coming through. Vastola instantly demeched and taken out of the fight. Punk, his positioning is immaculate right now. And with Valentine not being contested, he's able to just have an absolute firing range from afar. No one's going to contest that. And that's the Boston Uprising, cleaning it up nice and easy, winning the series 3-1.
What a game from Boston. I don't think many people were predicting them in this series, but they wiped the floor with Paris Eternal when it came to Rialto, when it came to this map as well. Honestly, this was pretty one-sided. Ilios going 2-0 as well. They had such a perfect read, and this adaptation to bring Valentine in to play the Soldier, to play the Tracer, made a huge difference for them. Just pumping out damage from the backline so often. Gorgeous performance. Brent, we were talking about these two teams being on the same path. Both teams in Stage 1 went 1 and 3. Both teams in Stage 2 went 2 and 2. Both teams in the Summer Showdown went 3 and 1. So the logical thought is one of them is probably going to go 4 and 0. There could only be one team leaving today with their hopes still intact, and it's the Boston Uprising, despite the fact that Paris took down Dallas yesterday.
Yeah, I know. Most people putting all their stocks into the Paris Eternal, but it's the Uprising who are out on top. Let's take a look at our player of the match, presented by Xfinity. We're giving it to an individual whose name we were calling out time and time again, who was really just a crucial element, and it's Punk. On the off-tank, on the Diva, just making it work as well. You have to have such a presence and understanding of the game and the team fights that are going on to be able to track all the cooldowns, your positioning. You need to have complete awareness of your entire team at a given time, or from your own point of view. A very difficult role to fulfill, but he did it excellently today, really shutting down Naga on the Farah.
Absolutely, and that's the crucial element, right? I mean, this bomb as well was perfect for being able to set Valentine up for more pressure on the Khan as he came up to respawn. And then, yeah, he's just been able to find value from bombs and from pressure onto the Farah throughout the entirety of today's match. Absolutely deserved. The guy was shutting down win conditions for the Paris Eternal left, right, and center.
Yeah, obviously getting the assist as well from I'm37 as well, another contender for the most valuable player here today. But yeah, this is quite an accomplishment, I think, as well for these the Boston Uprising, a team that most people were scoffing at in recent history, honestly, out of their franchise. They've always really never been able to live up to the highs of 2018 Stage 3, but this is a Boston Uprising squad that is really starting to heat up now, as we've been saying. I mean, this is a team that's now, you have to put respect on their name. When you see the Boston Uprising play against some of the top dogs in North America, there's a lot of upset potential there. And the discussion is starting to happen, you know, with these mid-table teams really starting to, level up overall over the course of the season. It's been fantastic to watch over the course of it. But we're going to go to a short break. We have an interview with Punk as well, so we get to hear his thoughts on the match ahead as well, and the rest of the Overwatch League action, of course, as the matches will be happening throughout the day. So you don't want to miss that, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Game Break presented by Cheez It Grooves. We're joined now by Punk from Boston Uprising. Punk, congratulations on the win today. How are you, buddy?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you very much.
Are you excited that you got your first win of the tournament cycle?
I'm very excited. A little bit stressed after that game, but we're all good.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were talking a little bit, and you did mention that, you know, like this was a stressful game, a little bit hard for you. Can you tell us why that was? Was it because of your role as D.Va, because you have to just like be everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of Pharah being played, D.Va's kind of the one that had, like, it's my job to negate pretty much all of Pharah's damage and whatnot, and then, so that's my main priority, but then you've got like anti-nades, pulse bombs, ball slamming, you gotta kind of look at everything, so it gets pretty stressful.
It does, but I mean, at the same time, like if you pull everything off correctly, like I'm guessing it'll feel very rewarding, right? At the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean,
play.
yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the game. I mean, you guys did get the win, and I feel like, you know, Boston Uprising, you guys really had a clear idea on how to deal with Paris Eternal, and of course how to defeat the Paris Eternal. Obviously, you know, coming into today, did you sort of identify any weakness from Paris? You know, after, I don't know if you guys watched the game against the Dallas Fuel, but I'm guessing you guys did. Did that sort of help you guys analyze the Paris Eternal today for your match?
Yeah, I think we took a few things from their last game, like just their tendencies and what they wanna, what we think they would play today. So we knew they'd play a lot of Pharah because Naga's really good at Pharah, so we kind of prepared for that coming into it. But we also prepared a lot for the swaps that we were gonna do if obviously they changed comp, which they did, and so it was a game of like cat and mouse where they changed comp, we changed comp, so that was kind of our main focus today.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, talking about swaps, you know, like I feel like a lot of teams right now currently sort of tend to stick with one composition, whether it's Wrecking Ball or the Orisa. But you guys, on the other hand, you guys were different. You guys were utilizing both of the composition at a pretty high level. You know, is that, I want to sort of ask your thoughts on that. Are you sort of using both of them to sort of try what sort of fits Boston Uprising play style better, or is it, you know, to be honest, is it just like, you know, you guys are just that good? You guys can, you know, pull off both of the competitions at a really high level.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what map, like who we're playing against. So I think we're really good at swapping between the two, which I definitely think is a strong point that we have, obviously, because if we did Orisa, you know, another team could figure out, they could come up with
Right.
like a way to just counter Orisa, and then obviously you kind of lose out from there. But I think us being able to play a variety is definitely good and covers all the bases, I guess.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Well, Punk, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much for your time, and again, congratulations on the win.
Awesome, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Let's head back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you, Punk. Congratulations to the Boston Uprising. We're back here on the desk for our game break presented by Pringles. And yeah, I guess we got that first prediction wrong. Off to a great start here with our pick'ems once again. Let's discuss what happened. Punk just talked about the versatility and the diversity in their compositions, and we talked about a lot, like heading into this game, about their DPS players and what they're gonna play and who's gonna pick up that tracer. We didn't really hit on that Orisa though. We probably didn't consider that Boston's gonna rock up with a bunker comp here reinforced.
Well, I mean, I think we could have expected a little bit of everything from the Boston Uprising because they like playing these slower competitions. It's what we saw them play against the Florida Mayhem, right? When they played the Bob the Builder comp and Valentine's on the Torbjorn, and they're just building and spawning different kinds of things in the game, making life just very difficult. So we know they are comfortable slowing things down. I think the Wrecking Ball was more surprising coming out of stand one because that is a hero we haven't seen him on a ton. So this Boston Uprising team, I do want to credit them for their compositional swaps because they made life very difficult for the Paris Eternal. Punk had a really good game on the D.Va, and like he talked about, making sure that Naga didn't get a ton of value on that Pharah. We also saw Myeonbong pop off on this Zenyatta, putting out these Disco Gold Orbs, and that made life very difficult for the Paris Eternal as well, because the focus fire was so good from the Boston Uprising. So like you see a soldier here from Colorex as he dies. I mean, that's not what I really wanted to highlight, but when you play this soldier, like, and you're trying to play this Wrecking Ball composition with the Tracer, with the Pharah, as soon as you try to get into position to round the Orisa or to round the D.Va, it's like you're stepping into a heat-seeking machine gun. Because the soldier's just right there, and as soon as you pick a corner, he's just going to keep damaging you. If you have to deal with Myeonbong's and Yara as well, I mean, it's so hard to walk around these corners or try to get in a position in the first place. So the Paris Eternal, it really felt like Boston Uprising had a good read on them going into this matchup, and really abused the fact that they knew what the Paris Eternal was going to bring into this match after their win yesterday against the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, and it was the opposite for the Paris Eternal. They seem to be caught off guard quite a bit by what the Boston Uprising were actually able to throw at them. So, yeah, as high as we were on Paris Eternal after yesterday's game, now we're back to the trust issues.
I'm not getting a Hangzhou statue. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah, there's that.
Sorry,
and
Paris
it's
social media manager. Yeah.
Oh well, sometimes it be like that. Now, heading into our next match coming up, unlike me, you know, Costa, you have not been so high on the Atlanta Reign. You did not believe that they can take the Gladiators down. And I just, okay, I may or may not.
Oh, like you're high on the Atlanta Reign.
I was so high.
Yeah, that's what you're known for.
But no, Costa, walk us through why you're going to be wrong with your prediction, please.
Okay. I had to do a double take on that one. Well, it's actually funny because I am getting a little worried in my boots right now, because we saw the Seoul Dynasty last night have success playing that bunker comps against the Hangzhou Spark, and right here we saw the Boston Uprising really able to slow the game down against a very good Wrecking Ball Pharah team in the Paris Eternal. So does that mean that maybe the Orisa might be more prominent in this meta than we're originally thinking? So maybe Atlanta Reign will be able to stick to their guns, play these Orisa styles. We know they're very good at doing that type of thing. If they stick to that, maybe they can start getting some of these wins and catch these teams off guard who aren't used to playing against the Orisa. But at the end of the day, I don't think you can always just like say that the meta is going to define everything. Not only do I think that the Gladiators are more comfortable in this dive style, and that is playing to their strengths, I just think that they've been playing at such a high level on multiple different comps that I think the Gladiators have the ability to adapt, just like we saw in the Boston Uprising, that the Atlanta Reign doesn't have. And I think that might end up being the linchpin for these two teams of, are they going to be able to play at the high level on multiple different things depending on the map. So I'm excited to see how these two teams go across. They are just absolutely star-studded with players, but I'm really looking at the DPS players to step up. The last time these two teams met, Atlanta Reign and the Gladiators, was in the Summer Showdown qualifiers, and this is Edison right here, putting all the Gladiators' hopes and dreams in the ground from going to Hawaii, because he just absolutely destroyed them. Edison's going to need to put up another performance like that to take down the Gladiators.
Anything you want to add, reinforce, since you too are high on the Atlanta Reign coming into this one, just like me, who has been believing in him.
Oh yeah, just equally. No, I mean, I think that if you're able to play this slow composition at a really good level, I think you'll be able to abuse the fact that some of these teams, they aren't as smooth, aren't as well executed on these dive compositions. The Gladiators, as I talked about, they're a bit inconsistent when it comes to the execution of that dive. Sometimes their Wrecking Ball player gets ahead of themselves. Sometimes some of their dive players in the DPS roles dives in a bit too early, and you can abuse that fact sometimes when you'd like to play things slow. I mean, you look at the Atlanta Reign. Fantastic backline. Masa has been phenomenal on the Brigitte. Iris playing that Batiste as well. You got Kai, you could potentially bring him out playing some of the hit scan heroes. Hawk, the D.Va, we just saw what Punk can do on the D.Va. Now Hawk can do it on the D.Va as well. I do think that the Atlanta Reign, they're overall a really good bunker team. Sorry, it's not about the kittens here, okay? It's about hardcore analysis. All about the Overwatch
no
here
fun
on the game
allowed
break.
here.
We don't need any kittens, okay? Not now. I'm talking, Zoe. Don't distract me.
He's listening. He's literally just the most chill, listening,
Yeah.
enjoying his belly rubs, stretching out, getting ready for the game, man.
Johnny, no, don't get distracted, Johnny. Don't go to the dark side. Hardcore analysis. What did we just talk about?
Did I distract him?
Go.
Atlanta,
No, I agree with you.
they're one of the few
Yes.
teams that can pull off the bunker
Yes.
comp because they're so good at it. So, I think they'll win. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
So honestly, I didn't
Get the
mean to
win.
distract you with the cat. I just didn't want him to start meowing because he started giving me the eyes. So I thought if I give him some belly rubs, he's gonna. You go uninterrupted. I didn't want him to protest against what you're saying. So I really tried to help. Really tried to help. He's a big Atlanta Reign fan as well, and so am I. And that's why for our bold prediction presented by Pringles, I'll double down. Yeah, I may have flip-flopped, but now I gotta go all the way with it. I think Atlanta Reign are gonna 3-0. That's right.
3-0.
The Gladiators. Hello. That's just rude.
First of all, I'm forced to make a bold prediction, okay? So I gotta be bold with it. And secondly, you just went on a rant about how amazing they are and how.
I don't think it's gonna be a 3-0. I'm just talking my own game here. I mean, I could be like Gladiators. Oh, they're so crisp, you know, like they're so fast paced.
You can always switch to the Gladiators. You still have a hot minute. Yeah.
No, I have more self-respect than to do that, Zoe. I have belief in my own analysis.
Same. Big same. Yeah, time to bring our castles in though, which of course are Mitch and Matt. And
talking about
I don't care about anything. So the only thing I really truly care about is your shirt, Mitch.
Yeah, we're focusing on the important stuff here.
We're both very festive today.
Yeah, Matt, again, we've talked about Matt's one before, but I'm obviously today wearing a very serious shirt because this is a serious matchup. Because we had Pig Gladiators last time, we had these teams go head-to-head. So today I have a sloth on a llama with a headset with tacos, pizza, and burritos.
And I babysat Mitch's child for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't tell them apart, to be honest. It's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Where's the beard?
I think Johnny just figured it out now. Johnny took Johnny.
No, I honestly haven't. I laughed because you're laughing at yourself. Like Matt's laugh, it's so innocent. Like.
Yeah. I do like the desk, like Johnny and Scott trying to like fight for hardcore analysis to stay in. And like Johnny's like going on this long monologue, which I don't know. I really forgot what he was talking about. But then as soon as the cat came on, everyone's like, "Oh, look, the cat! Yeah, this is great. Just keep doing the cat."
Exactly. I mean, like, it was like Johnny was fighting against the cat and the entire Overwatch community just to try and keep this analysis in like pole position. It's not an easy job, man. I have respect for it.
And also, I mean, many people on the desk, they flip flop so much. I don't even know who predicted who. Who's predicting who? This?
We don't know either.
Who did you guys have?
I don't know.
Who had what?
We'll see how it
has the rain. So has the rain.
Else have Atlanta? Well, I mean,
yeah.
She has Atlanta 3-0. I mean, whatever. Yeah, we'll say that's a prediction. But like, who else had Atlanta? Did Johnny have
Atlanta?
Atlanta?
I have Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Matt, I have Atlanta.
All right. Johnny's got.
Why? What do you have? What do you have, Matt?
Oh, I think the Gladiators. I mean, we haven't seen it like Atlanta. I mean, are they going to play slow comps? Is that like what we're going to see here? I feel like the Gladiators have a much better chance of pulling off some of the Wrecking Ball stuff than the Atlanta Reign. I think it was Scott showed it on the pre-show where like what Gators played more Sigma than Wrecking Ball in his Overwatch League career.
I'm starting to think Matt doesn't watch our show.
Oh, there you go.
It's either you or Johnny, one of you guys. Somebody said it.
Tell me don't put what point.
I pay attention. I pay attention to when Zoe and Danny speak. That's where I get my hard-hitting stuff from.
Yes. Well, here's the Preds. They're down below, Matt, so you can see them. It's Danny and Custer pick the Gladiators. So it's actually a pretty split desk. I think this is okay.
Custer just copying Danny, yeah.
Sure. Look, we'll catch it. Right, before you go them any further, it's like waving a red cape in front of a bull. We'll be back with the desk after this one, because we're going to jump into the game now, because the players are sat there like, damn, those talent really self-indulgent. Just want to talk about absolutely nothing. Matt, this matchup, I think there's a lot behind it, right? Because the Gladiators were definitely feeling pretty hard done by getting, their chance to go to Hawaii denied from them here. And you talk a little bit about why you expect to see more ball comps from the Gladiators, but why is that? Because we've seen this team play a lot of Batiste-based compositions. She was really nasty on their back, especially.
Yeah, I feel like though the Zen-based Wrecking Ball stuff is really kind of what's going to be strong with the hero pool that we have right now, and just kind of what we've seen from Shanghai Dragons, right, in the tournaments, the last two really that they've been able to come through with the Wrecking Ball. I just have to address your shirt is a sloth riding a llama with tacos.
Yeah, and burritos and pizza. Yeah.
They right, and then
Is
you know,
there-
like,
is
yeah,
there an
the,
issue?
the players are you know, worrying about the what was it, the talent, you know, taking up the time.
I mean,
Meanwhile,
I'm glorious,
you're
so I-
out there screaming with a llama t-shirt on.
I didn't even bring it up. It's all y'all that had to talk about it. You know what I mean? I was ready to
That's
talk about
true.
Overwatch here, Mr. How Now Brown Cow. Here we are. You know, we're waiting to jump into the... Listen, let's have a look at the Atlanta starting roster here, and we'll at least begin our conversation around them, because obviously no one's really expecting to see Gator on the Wrecking Ball. I don't know why I would
Maybe
be
you
less
do?
surprised to see it, to be fair. I think this team, I think it's safe to say, right, this team functions really effectively, you know, when they played that double shield style. Obviously, Sigma not really an option here, but the Orisa definitely seems like a good shout. Hawk, by the way, is top 5 in sort of damage, eliminations, and final blows as a D.Va player. He is like 14th in sort of deaths, which is, you know, obviously that's quite a lot of deaths, right? He dies more than the average D.Va player, but he's very active. He's very much involved in a lot of these fights. And obviously Kai and Pelican starting here in the roster.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the only thing you look at with the Atlanta Reign. You know, the tanks and the support line is going to remain the same. It's really just, you know, which damage dealers are in. So with Kai and Pelican, you know, if Edison was in, maybe you would see some like Tracer. They could still do it with Kai in the mix. Maybe kind of like, you know, just having him in as a worry for some, you know, far stuff on the other side. Maybe you need his hit scan potential. But I think the real story for the Atlanta Reign is what the tanks do. We could take a look at the Gladiators starting lineup now. Moth and Shu in terms of supports. I think that's like a dead sign. We're not going to see the... I mean, you still could see the Brig, but they want to get some Lucio play in, and then Shu maybe can play the Zen. And then Mir plus Kevster, so no Bird Ring here. Mir probably plays a lot of the projectile stuff for them.
Well, I love Kevsey here, but I think they have their bases really well covered, this team, especially in terms of Tracer. It's probably talked about on the pre-show, but Kevsey, I think, is 3rd in hero damage and final blows. 2nd tied for pulse bomb kills per 10. So really, like, maybe a little bit more of an understated player. It's like maybe the hype around him sort of fell off a little bit after we found out what he looks like, but the guy plays extremely well. The Tracer's very impactful. Space, by the way, #1, I believe, in final blows and knockback kills on the D.Va, but also is 16th in depth. So in much the same way as Hawk is, Matt, these are two super aggressive D.Vas. We have two very aggressive flex support players, right? Shu and Iris, especially in the BAP meta, were incredibly aggressive. You have two teams that, you know, despite people sort of saying, oh, they like to play double shield, or, you know, maybe, you know, people struggling to really ascertain what the biggest strengths of these rosters are, their supports and tanks are incredibly aggro.
Yeah, Lijiang Tower will be the first map in the series here. This is a very important match for, I feel like, the Atlanta Reign. I know the Gladiators, although they haven't made it to any of the Hawaii tournaments, still sitting at 8-4. You know, Atlanta, I believe, you know,